Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm your host, John Campea, and it is, as always, an awesome honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here today as we talk about our favorite things in the world. So much stuff to talk about, so let's not waste any time. Hey, guys, the first thing we need to do, though, is do a little bit of house cleaning, and that's look at the results of yesterday's question of the day. Now, yesterday's question of the day was pretty simple. What do you think was the best summer movie of 2018? There was a lot of you guys who voted, and the winner of the vote seems to have been Deadpool 2. So Deadpool 2 stands as the winner of the thing. Apparently 32% of you guys said Deadpool 2. 22.64% of you guys said Mission Impossible Fallout. Coming up in third place was Incredibles 2. Black Klansman and Ant-Man 2 had some votes. Solo got votes. Upgrade got votes. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom got the least amount of votes on there. And a few of you guys, 5.7% of you guys said that it was some other movie. Now, some of you might be wondering, why isn't Avengers Infinity War on there? Well, because Avengers Infinity War officially opened in April. That means it is not officially a summer movie, and that's how the industry judges it. They judge it by when a movie releases. So, like, if a movie releases on December 21st or December 31st of 2018, then it is a 2018 movie. If the movie opened on April 27th, then it is not a summer movie, so that's why it wasn't on that list. But there you have it, guys. You guys are saying Deadpool 2 is the best movie this summer, followed by Fallout, followed by Incredibles 2. If you guys have some other ideas, jump into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's get things kicked off with this. A couple of new trailers dropped today, and they both look really good. We're going to start off with the brand new trailer from Godard's new film, Bad Times at the El Royale. Now, of course, one trailer for Bad Times at the El Royale already aired a short time ago. This one comes out, and it looks a whole lot better. Like, the first one was good. The first trailer looked really good. Godard's first film that he's directing since Cabin in the Woods. It's weird to think about that because his name's been all over the place, but this is his first film that he's directed since then, and this looks fantastic. This trailer gives us a bit more of an idea about who the characters are. We certainly got a lot more Chris Hemsworth in this one. It looks like he's after somebody who stole something from him. He's like a shirtless cult leader. Of course, Chris Hemsworth is a shirtless cult leader. But it gives us a little bit more insight into the movie. It still feels a hell of a lot like a Quentin Tarantino movie to me. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. But the characters are rich, and the line of the movie, the line, I should say, of the trailer, that I think needs to be on t-shirts across America is Jeff Bridges dressed up as a priest saying, you know, we've all done bad things, but then here's the saying that needs to be on a t-shirt. Shit happens, grab the whiskey. That line in the trailer is destined to be a hashtag across. That's got to become trending across Twitter, and it's got to be on every t-shirt, every coffee mug I own. Shit happens, grab the whiskey. I love it. And, you know, I got to wonder if that whole shtick, because they've highlighted it in both trailers, that, hey, this hotel falls on the border of two different states, like right down the middle, and you can stay in one state or you can stay in another state because it's right on the border between the states. And I cannot help but wonder if that, now that we've seen that kind of repeated in the second trailer, I can't help but wonder if that's going to become like a key element in the movie and kind of have some kind of major significance, like because there's a slightly different law. I'm just speculating here. There's a slightly different law in this state from this state that lets them do this horrible thing on this side of the hotel, but you can't do that horrible thing on this side of the hotel. You know what I'm saying? Either way, John Hamm looks great. Chris Hemsworth looks great. Jeff Bridges clearly looks great. I'm excited about this movie. I was already excited from the first trailer, but this one giving us a little bit more context, a little bit more depth. And again, I would have loved the trailer if the entire trailer was just 5 seconds long and had Jeff Bridges dressed as a priest saying, shit happens, grab the whiskey. I would have loved the trailer right there. So overall, I think this is a great trailer. It's definitely increased my excitement for the film. All right, let's move on now to another new trailer that just dropped this morning, and that's for the new film with Ryan Gosling being directed by Damien Chazelle, who of course directed La La Land, and that's First Man. Now, we've already had a trailer and a teaser for this. This one, again, just like the Bad Times at El Royale trailer, this is a new trailer that gives us more depth, more context to the characters. Couple of things that I really love about this trailer that we didn't necessarily get in the previous ones. Number one is the sense of tension. like, obviously you're talking about, you know, a guy back in that era trying to fly into space and land on the moon. There's natural tension inherent in the subject matter itself, right? But this trailer, much more than the previous ones, really transmitted from beginning of the trailer to the end the sense of tension, the white knuckles that you're probably going to have holding on to the edge of your seat, even though you know how the film ends and all that kind of stuff. But just from, you know, things exploding, you know, ejection seats being triggered off, you know, hand on the window as all this light and everything is flashing by it, is daddy coming home? But that leads us into the second thing about this trailer that I thought gave it a new dimension from the previous ones. And that is this. I love it when a movie takes a moment to look at the human aspect of the heroic. Whether we're talking about comic book movies or whether we're talking about real life heroes and real life stories. Quite often, understandably, we focus on the heroic element. Like if you're going to make a movie about Neil Armstrong, it's completely understandable. You focus on the space mission and the landing on the moon and the first man to land on the moon. Yes. But what I really like about this trailer is that it takes a good chunk of it to look at the human ramifications of that. He's still a man. He's a husband. He's a father. And I love the fact that they took time to explore the narrative and the drama that is taking place juxtaposed against this space odyssey of trying to travel into space with, this dude's got kids and a wife who is concerned and is talking to him about, you need to sit down and talk to your kids about the fact that you may not come home. You have to prepare your kids. And I'm telling you what, this one trailer and that one moment in that trailer took me from not only looking forward to this movie about the first man to walk on the moon, but I am now looking forward to this drama about this guy, forget the fact that it's Neil Armstrong, who's about to do something hugely important, but also hugely dangerous. And how does he sit down at that dinner table and have that discussion with his children? Daddy's about to do something that might mean I might not come home. You may not see Daddy again. How do you have that conversation? How do you have that? I don't even have kids and I'm like bewildered about how you have that conversation. And this one trailer now has me looking forward to multiple facets of this movie, whereas before I was just looking forward to the great movie about Neil Armstrong, the man walking on the moon. And there's nothing wrong with that. But now you've got multiple dimensions I'm very excited about. So that increased sense of tension and that new focus on the human ramifications of the heroic, those things make this trailer a big winner for me, and I'm very excited to see this. So two really good trailers. You know, Bad Times at the El Royale and the new First Man trailer, two really good ones. Make sure you go over to YouTube and check them out if you have not done so already. All right, let's move on to another topic here. It was just announced this morning. I'm ready to tell you right now. A tectonic shift in the history of Hollywood is about to happen. Forget The Godfather. Forget him. Forget Bridge on the River Kwai. Forget Lawrence of Arabia. Forget Ben-Hur. Forget anything that you think may have been the greatest film of all time. Because I'm here to tell you, there is a new goat in town. And that is a movie about Wile E. Coyote. Yes, that's right. It has been officially reported that Wile E. Coyote has a movie in development at Warner Brothers. Officially, it's going to be, at least the working title right now is Coyote versus Acme. Now, for those of you who did not grow up watching Wile E. Coyote trying to chase and catch that Roadrunner, Acme is the company that the Coyote was constantly buying mail order stuff from. All these gadgets, usually missiles and explosives and bombs. Always the most dangerous things that you should never be allowed to sell over mail. Anyway, Acme is the company that Wile E. Coyote was constantly mailing away to get some new gadget or new device or new, weapon to try to catch and destroy the Roadrunner. And inevitably, something always went wrong. Whether it was something going wrong with the Acme device that they sent him, or whether it was something that went wrong with the environment, inevitably, though, every single scheme that Wile E. Coyote came up with ended with him being crushed and destroyed under rocks, or blown up and burnt, or whatever. He's got a hell of a chin in MMA terms, because he took some big hits and never died. I think you can make an argument that Wile E. Coyote is an immortal celestial being, because the poundings and the beatings and the falls off cliffs and being crushed by giant boulders and being a victim of massive explosions, and yet he never died. I think you could make an argument that he is an MCU Celestial. Much like that floating head of nowhere, or much like, you know, Peter Quill's father. He's a celestial immortal. And I think you can make an argument for that. But anyway, getting back to this movie. I'm excited because Wile E. Coyote is a character that I think a lot of people have identified with over the years. Like that Roadrunner, if you want to get philosophical for something, represents that thing in our lives that we're constantly trying to get, and it's always just out of our reach, regardless of the innovations, regardless of the machinations, regardless of the plans and the schemings and the plotting and the preparedness and all that kind of stuff. There's always that one thing that's just out of our reach and we can never get. And I think on that level, there's a lot of people in our culture who have identified at one point or another with Wile E. Coyote. And although the Roadrunner is the hero, even back as a kid, I think everybody at some point was just starting to cheer for the Coyote. Like, damn, I hope he gets that damn bird. I hope he gets that damn bird at some point because this dude's gone through hell. So on many levels, I think it's a great idea to do a movie on Wile E. Coyote. I love the idea of it being Coyote versus Acme. I am assuming Roadrunner will be in there in some way, shape, or form, being the kind of the MacGuffin, if you will, to push the story along. Look, I gotta tell you, I think there's a lot of things from our past that you can announce you're doing a movie about that would be dumb. I think doing a movie on the Coyote is awesome. And I'm completely excited to see what they're going to do about it. So, yep, chalk me up to being on board with that. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. And the next topic here is talking about Warner Brothers and The Flash. Now, there has been a ton of drama surrounding the Flash movie. It's lost, I think, 3 sets of directors. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's 3. They've lost multiple screenwriter teams. They said it was happening, then it was pulled off the release date. Then they said it's going to be a Flashpoint movie. Then that has apparently changed. Now it's not going to be a Flashpoint movie. It was supposed to start shooting sometime in 2018, but now it looks like that ain't happening. Here's what happened. The actress who's been cast to play Iris West in the upcoming movie, her name's Kiersey Clemons. So Kiersey Clemons, who is playing Iris West in the Flash movie, whenever it happens, yesterday was interviewed on a red carpet. And she was asked directly, what is going on with the Flash movie? And she said a couple of interesting things. Here's the first thing she said, okay? In relation to the question, what's happening with Flash? She said this. This is the actress starring in the movie. I have no idea. We don't know yet. I mean, we have, here, listen to this. We have a little bit of an idea kind of who our director is, but I can't say that. But I talk with Ezra Miller frequently, and we'll see. We can't say anything until you guys know. Then she goes on to say, the interviewer went on and asked, wait a minute, so is Flash on hold? And she said, yes. What I will say is that they get to approve every job that I do, and so far, I'm not doing Flash for the rest of the year. She had earlier revealed that her schedule was to start shooting Flash this year. Obviously, that's not happening. They have to approve every job that I do, and so far, I'm not doing Flash for the rest of the year. We know that. I'm doing other things, but let's hope for 2019. So, the actress in the movie's come out and confirmed when directly asked, is the Flash now on hold? And she said yes. I was supposed to start shooting 2018. Now let's hope for 2019. But I want to go back to this one other thing that I thought was really made me go, wait a minute, time out. What did you say? Remember, earlier this year, it was made official that the Flash had brought on 2 directors. And it's the combo of dudes who directed Game Night. And by the way, I liked Game Night. I liked it quite a bit. And they also wrote that, or I can't remember if they directed as well, that Ed Helms' Lampoon Vacation movie, right? With Chris Hemsworth and everything. That movie sucked, but whatever. But Game Night was pretty good. Earlier this year, just a few months ago, they officially said, yes, these guys are directing Flash. It's official, okay? 2 directors. It's a team of guys. These guys are directing Flash. It's official, right? It's public knowledge. It's official. And yet, Clemens said this. She said, I mean, we have a little bit of an idea, kind of, who our director, singular, is, but I can't say that. Did they lose another set of directors? Did Clemens just let slip that Flash has lost yet another set of directors? Because here's the thing, and again, I'm not saying it's definitive. She did not clearly say, we just lost our directors and now we kind of, no. But if you have your directors and it's official and it's announced and it's been known since the beginning of the year that these are directors, why do you say this? I mean, we have a little bit of an idea as to who our director is, singular, but I can't say that. Wait a minute, so you can't talk about the director situation and you're referring to director in the singular and saying you only have kind of an idea who the director is when earlier this year they officially said, these are our two directors. Did they lose their directors again? I mean, I don't think you can take from this comment anything definitive and say, absolutely, we can say for certain that Warner Brothers has lost yet another set of directors for The Flash. We can't say that definitively. But also, you would have to be incredibly naive not to read this statement. I mean, we have a little bit of an idea, kind of, who our director is, but I can't say. You'd have to be incredibly naive and sticking your head into the sand to not go, wait a minute, something's not right about that. Now, maybe she was just stumbling over her words. Maybe just nonsense came out of her mouth. Maybe she was thinking about, watching the new episode of Better Call Saul later and just kind of random words were coming out of her mouth and she didn't really know what she was saying. And that those two guys are still absolutely directing the film. That is possible. But you have to at least raise an eyebrow when one of the actors of the movie says, we kind of have an idea who our director, singular, not plural, who our director is kind of, but I can't say anything. What the hell does that mean? So here we are again. Flash is delayed. Again, we're hearing it directly from the actress in the movie. They thought they were going to start shooting in 2018, not, and now she's kind of hoping that we shoot in 2019. We don't know. And I kind of have an idea who the director, singular, might be, but just kind of, and I can't say anything. Is this thing in a massive mess? Now, is there a positive way to look at this? I contend there is. Even if The Flash has been delayed again, and even if they've replaced the directors again, which we don't know for sure. Let's be clear about that. But even if all that is true, I still contend there is a positive way to look at that. And that is this. There is a new sheriff in town in Warner Brothers. There's a new sheriff in town who is running the DCEU, and that's Walter Hamada. And I believe, I've been saying this for a while, I believe Walter Hamada has really pulled the reins in and said, everybody calm down. Let's slow things down a bit. Let's really assess where we are, and let's plan for the long term, for long-term success, and not just trip over our own feet to throw some movies out that might just be setting us back even further. It has seemed to me, ever since Walter Hamada stepped in to take things over, that has been the philosophy. I haven't heard anybody say that officially. This is just my speculation. It just looks to me like Walter Hamada has been adopting a very wise philosophy of, okay, look, we've already had the Flash in motion, we already had the Aquaman in motion. We've obviously got Wonder Woman 2 there, and we already had Shazam in motion. But aside from that, let's pump the brakes a little bit here, folks. Let's really assess where we're at. Let's not figure how do we fix everything and set everything right in 24 months. Let's look at the long-term health of what we're doing and make sure we're making decisions that set us up for success 4 years from now, 7 years from now. Let's do things right now, even if it means we have to be a little bit patient and take our time and make sure we're doing things the right way. And if I'm right, and I might not be, but if I'm right about that, then hearing that, that Hamada has pushed off Flash and is putting the brakes on that and saying, let's not even think about it. And then maybe they've also released directors. Maybe they're looking at somebody else. I don't know. But it would be consistent with that. But then again, maybe Clemens was just misspeaking. Maybe she was just misspeaking. But what we do know for sure is that they've delayed the film again. What is very curious is it looks like they might have replaced the directors again. I don't know. This thing's in a little bit of a state of a mess. Let's see if they can get this ship righted again. All right, let's move on now to the main topics of the show today. How do we select our main topics? Well, it's simple. You guys select the main topics by emailing them to me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Just email me your topic or question to john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep your emails to 90 words or less, or else I simply wouldn't be able to have space to fit it on the screen. And maybe you'll see your topic or question on The John Campea Show. All right, let's just do it with question number one. And question number one today comes to us from Russ, who writes, "Hi, John. I'm a big fan." Thank you so much, Russ. "As good as it is that we now have more female lead films, is it lazy that the studios are doing films, been done already?" You probably meant have been done already, but with women, for example, Ghostbusters and Ocean's 8. All right, thanks a lot for the question, Russ. I'm going to say right off the top, no, it's not lazy. It's not lazy at all. Okay, first of all, would it be lazy if all female-led movies now were just some reduxes or sequels or reboots done with female casts? Well, even then, maybe no. But the fact of the matter is, this year, the vast majority of female-led films this year are just original films, right? Or sequels. We got Crazy Rich Asians. We got Annihilation. We've got Red Sparrow, Tomb Raider, Mamma Mia, Alita Battle Angel, A Wrinkle in Time, Proud Mary. I mean, we've had lots of female-led movies this year that are not sequels or remakes or whatever, or reboots of other films that had male leads and now are doing it with female leads. But I will say this also. Even if you do a reboot, but this time, look, every reboot changes some things. Every remake changes something, right? It's not like very, very, very rarely do you get a remake that's just a shot-for-shot remake, because what's the point of that? You have to bring something new elements to it that freshen it up and make it a little bit different, make it stand out from the original. So for them to say revisit a reboot, and by the way, tons of remakes come out that if they had female leads before, they have female leads now. And if they had male leads before, well, then they have male leads now. Most of them, the vast majority of them do that. But we have seen a couple of examples. Ocean's 8, which is not a remake, it's a sequel per se. It's more like a shared cinematic universe thing with Ocean's 11. Ghostbusters is a good example. There's another movie coming later this year called The Hustle, which is a remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which itself was a remake of an older film. But anyway, so there's that as well. But those are the minority of films with female leads coming out this day. I would contend this. It is lazy to not change the gender. It's actually more lazy to not change the gender. It's like, hey, we're doing a reboot of this. Oh, yeah? We'll just do exactly what they had before. That's more lazy. And I would contend this. There's no reason not to do it. Like, there's no reason not to change the genders. There's no reason not to. Like, I remember I had this argument with somebody once that Ghostbusters, which, let's say we're specifically talking about Ghostbusters, but it could have been about any other movie, and said, you know, the bad thing about Ghostbusters is they didn't need to make it, there was no need to make it female leads. I said, okay, yeah, that's true. There was no need to make them female leads. But there was no need to make them male leads either. And if the only argument you have to say that they have to be male leads is because that's what they did before, well, then that's the lazy thing. Then that's the lazy thing. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. I got no problem with remakes that do it, you know, with the same genders of characters that they had before. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to talk about something that's lazy, that's the lazy approach. I have no problem with it because there's nothing that's said. In doing a Ghostbusters movie, when you look at the story of Ghostbusters, there's nothing in it that requires you to have male leads. Those characters could have been female, so why not do it female? Unless you give me a valid argument other than because it's what they did before, there's no reason not to. There's no reason to do it, but there's no reason not to do it. So who cares if they make them female leads or male leads? I mean, that's just the way I look at it. Who cares? What difference does it make? And I would suggest that the people who raise the loudest fuss about it and who make a stink about it, they're the ones with the agenda. You know, doing a remake, but by the way, 95% of remakes that come out keep gender roles exactly as they are. Every once in a while, the filmmaker wants to mix it up, okay? There's no reason it needed to be male and no reason it needed to be female. It'd be lazier just to keep it the same gender before, so they mix it up and try with the women. I would suggest that the people who are screaming agenda are actually the ones with the agenda. But anyway, that's just kind of the way I see it. So that's my thoughts on that. All right, let's move on to topic number 2. And topic number 2 comes us today from Nick Todd, who writes, "Hi, John. Just wondering if you had a chance to see that Variety is saying Matt Smith has joined the cast of Star Wars Episode 9. They said they don't know who he's playing at the moment. So I was curious what you thought about Prince Philip / Doctor Who joining the galaxy." All right, thanks a lot for the question, Nick. And yes, so we found out the other day, of course, that we had Dominic joined the cast, but we have no idea if it's a big role, tiny role, whether he's just going to be a cameo, no idea. So I said I'm not excited about that at all. But now we found out that Matt Smith, who was, I believe, recently nominated for an Emmy for his role as Prince Philip in The Crown. And a lot of you guys know him, that he played Doctor Who for a while. That he's joined, but here's the key difference between Matt's announcement and the announcement about Dominic. The announcement about Matt said that he has been cast in Episode 9 in a key role. See, that's something they never said about Dominic. So to me, I don't get excited about the Dominic Monaghan casting because I don't know if he's just going to be like Simon Pegg. You know, Simon Pegg was in The Force Awakens, but Unkar Plutt, you just never saw him. Daniel Craig was in The Force Awakens, but you never saw him. So I wasn't going to get excited about it. I will get excited about the Matt Smith thing, though, because Variety is saying it is a key role. So that will get me excited because, look, I don't watch Doctor Who, so I don't know where there's good with the Doctor. But I did watch The Crown. And Matt Smith was awesome in The Crown. Like, him and Claire Foy were just so drop-dead incredible. They had great chemistry together. Their dynamic of playing off each other was fantastic. And it was a well-deserved Emmy nomination, if I'm remembering it right, and he did get an Emmy nomination for that. The dude's an ace actor. I think he's fantastic. So hearing that he's joining, and specifically hearing it will be a key role, yeah, that gets me excited. I'll always get excited when you add talent, and this dude is clearly talent, so I'm going to be excited about that. Now, a lot of people saying, oh, he's going to be a First Order, officer. Some people think he's going to be a rebel. Some people think he's going to be some kind of lost Jedi. I mean, who knows? We haven't heard anything in the reports officially about who or what it is he's playing. But for now, we know he's going to be in the movie. He's a damn good actor. It's going to be a key role. So all that's enough to make me excited for it. All right, let's move on now to the third email. And the third email today comes to us from Samir Amari, who writes, Brad Bird did an interview where he said he thought Edge of Tomorrow would have done better at the box office if it had been a sequel or a franchise film, and that audiences don't go out to support original films. He was saying that's why a lot of studios are afraid to do a lot of original or non-franchise movies. Do you agree or disagree with him? Yeah, so Brad Bird was he was on Twitter, and he was replying to a lot of people on Twitter and saying a bunch of things. And one of the discussions he got into was specifically around the idea about, why are studios afraid to make, or a lot of original films? And he kind of answered that on question because audiences don't support it. Like, audiences don't go out and support them. He gave one example in talking about Edge of Tomorrow when he said this specifically. Edge of Tomorrow is a great movie, but the audience who asks for originality in films failed to show up for it. If it had been released as Live, Die, Repeat, it might have been a hit. It should have been. Sadly, it was called Edge of Tomorrow, a terrible and bland title for a really entertaining film. And I completely agree with him on that. I've always thought the title for Edge of Tomorrow was stupid. I thought they should have kept All You Need Is Kill. I thought that's the title they should have gone with. But anyway, he's just making the point and using that as one specific example that, we have audiences constantly saying, we want original films. But as what Brad Bird is pointing out, when Hollywood gives us original films, and good original films, the audiences don't go out to support them. You put out a crappy Transformers The Last Night movie, it makes $600 million. You put out some other original film that gets like a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and nobody goes to see it. Like, let's put this in perspective here for a second. Ocean's 8, I believe, which I didn't think was a bad movie. Ocean's 8 wasn't a bad movie, but it's a recognizable IP. It's part of a franchise, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't a bad little film, but it made like $140 million domestically. Just domestic. We're talking about the North American box office. Made about $140 million there. which is huge. 130, 140, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? But then Hollywood puts out all these great, we're just talking about this year, just 2018. Hollywood puts out a whole ton of great original films that people don't go to see. Black Klansman's in theaters right now. It's only made $32 million. Talking domestically. It's only made $32 million. Hereditary, it's got an 89% Rotten Tomatoes score. Only made $44 million. Ocean's 8 literally made triple, more than triple of what Hereditary made. A great original horror movie, like it's fantastic. Made only 1/3 of what Ocean's 8 did, right? Upgrade, which I really like, 86% of Rotten Tomatoes, made $12 million. The Death of Stalin, which granted didn't have a super wide release, but it did play in over 500 theaters, which means it was playing somewhere near you. 96% Rotten Tomatoes rating, $8 million at the box office. Sorry to Bother You, which is a movie I don't like at all, but the fact of the matter is the critics love it, and a lot of you guys loved it. 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, $16 million at the box office. Tully, the Jason Reitman film, with Charlize Theron, like with a great cast, big name director, 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, solid, great movie, makes $9 million at the North American box office. One of the most frustrating things, this Brad Pitt scenario kind of highlights one of the most frustrating things for me as a film fan, is when I still will hear people say, Hollywood doesn't do anything original anymore. Yes, they do. There is more original film made today than in any other time in Hollywood history. It is also true that there are more sequels and franchises and remakes made than any other time in history. That is also true. But it does not negate the fact that there are more movies being made today than ever before, and that means there's more original film being made today than ever before. The only difference is y'all don't go out to support it. So don't cry when a studio goes, well, we could make an Ocean's 8, right? It's a little tried, it's a little true, blah, blah. Or we got this dynamite idea for this movie based on, say, Black Klansman. We got this dynamite idea. Spike Lee's going to direct. It's going to be awesome, blah, blah. But, well, one will make us $130, $140 million. One will make us 30. Which one are you going to do if you're a studio, right? When we as the audience constantly tell the studios, we want franchise movies, we want sequels, we want franchises, we want reboots. When what we do is constantly tell the studios that, and we tell them that by the movie tickets we buy, we're not going out and seeing the great original films, we're going out to see Ocean's 8. We're going out to see Transformers The Last Night. We're going out to see Avengers Infinity War. We're going out to see Solo. We're going out to see Incredibles 2. I mean, this dude who's complaining about sequels in Hollywood, he just had one of the most successful sequels, and he doesn't like the idea of sequels, which probably has one of the big reasons why we had to wait so long to get ourselves an Incredibles 2 to begin with, because he just doesn't like the idea of sequels. But we as an audience, as much as we whine and complain, I'm guilty too, as much as we whine and complain that not enough original film, the fact of the matter is they put out tons of original film, the audience doesn't go support it. Sorry, the numbers prove it over and over and over and over again. So, I don't know. I mean, then even you get some movies like Valerian, City of a Thousand Planets, right? Big spectacle, sci-fi, huge visual effects, budget, blah, 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 blah. Totally flopped. People didn't go out to support it because it wasn't in the MCU. Because it wasn't part of the DCU, because it wasn't part of the Star Trek universe or the Star Wars universe or whatever. It was an original film, and people didn't go support it. Now, granted, that movie wasn't great, but it was a lot better than other movies that made a lot more money than it. So, yeah, it is one of those frustrating things, and I think Brad Bird is dead on the money. I mean, obviously the studios will be a little hesitant to make a lot of big-budget original films because they're seeing, hey, the audience don't go out to support the smaller ones. If we make the bigger ones, we're going to just take financial baths and lose tons of money, and I'm going to lose my job. So I totally see where Brad Bird's coming from. I really do. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Megan Wang, who writes, the trend in Hollywood seems to be to try and get your comedy R-rated, But the new Anne Hathaway comedy, The Hustle, which I think is a remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, was given an R rating and appealed to the MPAA and just got their rating reduced to a PG-13. Since a lot of successful comedies lately seem to be R-rated, why would they go out of their way to try to get a PG-13? All right, so for those of you who don't know what Megan's talking about, we got Rebel Wilson and Anne Hathaway are starring in a new movie called The Hustle. It was formerly going to be called, Nasty Women. But I guess they figured that had a little too much of a political thing to it, so they decided, well, the name of the movie for the longest time was Nasty Women. They've changed it to The Hustle. It is, in fact, a remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, one of my all-time favorite comedies with Michael Caine and Steve Martin, which itself was a remake of an older film as well. So, anyway, thank goodness for remakes, because one of my all-time favorite comedies, the Steve Martin, Michael Caine version of The Scoundrel, was it in and of itself a remake, so I will always be appreciative for remakes. Anyway, so they got this movie coming. Now, the last one was PG-13. I got to admit, if they had stuff in this, so what happened is they made the movie, they presented it to the MPAA, and the MPAA said, okay, this is an R-rated movie. And I have to kind of agree with you. Look, I get the idea that a PG-13 means more kids can come see your movies, but do you really think this is a movie that a lot of kids are going to be lining up to see? Is this a movie that a lot of 14-year-olds are going to be lining up to go see? I don't know that that's the case. I really don't. So I got to agree with you on this one, Megan. If they went in and presented the movie as is and it got an R rating, why not then just take advantage of that? Why not just go, okay, this is going to be an adult comedy. There's been some great success lately with R-rated comedies. Since this isn't really a movie that's going to be appealing to the average 14 or 15-year-old anyway, why don't we go for it, add some more adult stuff to it, and just embrace the R rating? Instead, they appealed the decision for an R rating, went back to the MPA, made an argument for it, and then won their appeal, and now the movie's going to be PG-13. And I really don't think they're going to gain anything from it. I mean, I understand the basic premise. You open yourself up to a potential bigger audience, yes, but I don't see a lot of that potential bigger audience being interested in this film anyway. This is really more of an adult-themed movie anyhow, so embrace the R, go for it on that level. It's worked for some other films, doesn't always work, and it won't guarantee it'll work, but why not take advantage of it and go for it? So I'm going to agree with you on this one, Megan. I think they made a mistake. I honestly think they should have just embraced the R rating and just gone for it and been happy with it. That's what I think they should have done, but maybe we'll watch the movie and we'll think, nope, this was a perfect PG-13 movie and we'll have to change our minds. But for now, I'm going to agree with you on that, Megan. All right, let's move on to the final emailed-in topic of the day. And the final emailed-in topic of the day comes to us from Rudy Russell, who writes, I noticed your girl, Jennifer Garner, she is my girl, has her new movie coming out in a couple of weeks. I think the trailers have, by the way, the movie she's talking about is called Peppermint. I think the trailers have looked pretty solid, but so far I'm not seeing a lot of buzz for it. Do you think the movie can have any success at the box office, regardless of how good or bad it is? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, my girl, Jennifer Garner, has got a new movie coming out. It is called... let's see, where did it go? It is called Peppermint. All right. I think this movie looks awesome. I think it looks amazing. I am always down for any movie that explores the righteous vengeance of a parent whose child is either threatened or harmed. Movies that explore that theme, whether it's a Liam Neeson Taken or other things like that, movies that explore the righteous vengeance of a parent whose child has been threatened or harmed, I'm a sucker for those, man. I am a pure sucker for those. And the whole notion, if you haven't seen the trailer for Peppermint, Jennifer Garner is this mom, her husband and her little daughter get murdered in a drive-by shooting. There might be more to it than that, but that's all that I can clearly see out of the trailers. Because those guys were highly connected gang members, they get off. Even though she can eyewitness them in court and all that kind of stuff, the gang members get off. So she all of a sudden disappears. And she's gone for 5 years. And all she does for those 5 years is train. Train to kill fools. And she comes back 5 years later, and she's just leaving body counts. She's just dropping bodies everywhere, right? And I just, again, you got to understand, for a guy like me who, number one, I am terminally in love with Jennifer Garner. But beyond that, the fact that it is the righteous rage and vengeance of a parent whose child was harmed, or in this case, murdered and taken from her. I eat that crap up, man. I eat that crap up with a spoon. I love it. I think the trailers look great. It's got Jennifer Garner in it, so I'm on board already. So I'm very excited for it. But the point you raised in the email that you're not feeling a lot of buzz around for, I got to totally agree. I am also not sensing a lot of buzz out there for this film. Not getting a lot of buzz from a lot of people over it. So that, now, will a lot of people go see this? You know what? I don't think it will. I do not think Peppermint's going to do very well at the box office. And I think that's a damn shame because I think it looks really good. Now, I haven't seen it yet. Maybe the movie sucks. Might absolutely suck. I haven't seen it yet. But I have a feeling you're right. We're not going to see a lot. I'm guessing maybe like a $15 million opening. I'm going to guess for a $15 million opening. Which because I think this thing deserves like a $40+ million opening just for the premise of it alone, right? But that leads us to today's question of the day. And today's question of the day is simply this. Are you planning on seeing Peppermint? Simple, straightforward question. Are you planning to go see this amazing looking Jennifer Garner film, Peppermint? And let's see what you guys are saying right now, opening it up. We've already got about 100 of you guys who have responded now. And overwhelmingly, you guys are saying, nope, not planning on seeing it. 74.3% of you guys are saying you are not planning on seeing Peppermint. Only 25.6% of you are going to be joining me in the theaters on opening weekend when Peppermint opens and saying, yes, you are. So once again, guys, the question of the day is, are you planning on seeing Peppermint? Go down into the description of this video. At the very bottom of the description, you will find the link that you go and click on to go and answer today's question of the day. Go, vote, let your voice be heard. Come on, guys, give Jennifer Garner some love. Anyway, but right now, it's kind of overwhelming. 74% of you are saying no. 25% of you are saying yes. We will revisit, of course, the official results on tomorrow's John Campea show to see what you guys had to say about that. Okay, with all that out of the way now, let's go on and take some of the questions you guys sent in live. Now, unfortunately, today's show is actually pre-recorded because YouTube was having issues and not receiving live streams. But a bunch of you guys had already sent in some live questions, so let's visit those live questions right now. And we'll get things started here with Sebastian, who writes, "Call me Mr. Nosy. I'm hoping your meeting went well." Well, for those of you who follow me, I had a very important meeting last night, and this would be a good time to announce this. There is not going to be an open mic today at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time because I'm doing a town hall meeting with my Patreon supporters where I need to make some announcements, some significant announcements that will become public later. But the Patreon supporters, the really core supporters of this channel, I want to have a town hall meeting with them at 2 o'clock. And it has something to do with that meeting last night. So the meeting did go well, Sebastian, and more details to come. Kick It to the King Productions writes, Spidey 2 is shot in Berlin. Well, part of it is. A lot of it's shot in London. A lot of it's shot at other places around the world. In the comics, last time Spider-Man was in Berlin, he was tracking down the killers to Ned, best friend in Homecoming. What are the chances Ned dies in Spider-Man Far From Home? Kick It to the King follows that up with, characters from that story arc I don't believe will be in the movie are Wolverine and Hobgoblin, might be swapped with Fury and Mysterio. All right. Thanks a lot for the question, Kick It to the King Productions, and good observation. I will say this, though. I don't think it has anything to do with that storyline. For two reasons. Number one, Kevin Feige has already talked about Spider-Man Far From Home, and it's going to be shooting in multiple international locations. From New York to London, Germany, I believe Paris, I believe there's other locations as well. So Kevin Feige's talked about they're going to be shooting in a lot of different locations around the world, hence the term Far From Home, right? So it doesn't sound like just because some of the shooting's being done in Germany, that necessarily ties into a significant former comic book story arc as to the murder of Ned. So I think because of the fact that it's not just specifically Germany, it's a lot of different locations, I think that goes against that theory. The other thing that goes against the theory is this. People love the Peter-Ned dynamic. People love that relationship. Like, I remember watching Avengers Infinity War, when one of the biggest cheers of the night is when Ned came on screen on that school bus, right? Everybody freaked out. Everybody is loving that relationship. And it's also works for them amazingly well in their marketing, because like when, I can't remember the name of the actor, he's a Filipino guy, but when he goes around talk shows, like people just eat up this bromance between him and Tom Holland, because him and Tom Holland are, they exchange like texts all the time, and they're always constantly FaceTiming. I mean, just, it's too big of a thing to them. So for those two reasons, I salute you on the sleuthing and seeing the connections there. But for those two reasons, I wouldn't think that that's going to be part of it. However, I'm not going to fall out of my chair in shock and surprise if we watch Far From Home and Ned dies. I mean, it's totally possible. I mean, if you want to talk about something that would hurt Spider-Man where it counts and would be very motivating for him, hey, somebody murdering Ned, that would do it. So I don't think this is what they're going to do, but it's not a bad theory, Kick It to the King. Not a bad theory at all. All right, let's move on here. Ben Hayusa writes, what? Wild E versus Acme movie? Oh, take my money. See, a lot of people are going to roll their eyes at it, Ben, but I am with you. For me, it's like, shut up and take my money. I cannot wait to see this. I'm super stoked about it. Hector Riaz writes, saw Tag last night. Ending was great and emotional. You know, that to me is like the underrated and under-recognized comedy of the year. It's not the best comedy of the year, not at all, but Tag is a solid little film. It is a solid little film with good laughs, and the ending is fantastic. It is. It gets you right here. You're smiling, but you also feel it here. I felt there was great chemistry between the characters. Again, not best comedy of the year, nothing like that, but it is a solid little movie that I think more people need to take a chance on and go see, and I'm glad you did, Hector. All right, Sebastian follows up with, Box Office Mojo, I checked it out. Amazing data on revenue, limited on cost. There will be a reckoning like any business one day. People love revenue, but... And if you're talking about, Sebastian, the problem that I've been raising for a long time is that Hollywood is letting their spending getting out of control. Their spending's getting out of control. And to everybody who complains about the cost of going to the movies, that's where it starts. It starts on studios spending so much money on these movies that they need to charge more, that it has to trickle down, and ultimately it's you that pays for it. And I always roll my eyes when I hear, like, on one hand, somebody say, it's too expensive to go to the movies, but at the same breath, they'll go, oh, Paramount should just pay Chris Pine whatever he wants to be in Star Trek. It's like, you do realize that one is directly connected to the other, right? You do realize that this whole habit that Hollywood has of overspending, and just throwing money all over the place, ultimately, you know who pays for it? You pay for it, because it means the studios need to recoup more money, which means they put more pressure on the theaters to raise ticket prices and all that kind of stuff. It's all systemic. It all connects. So don't complain about the cost of a movie ticket if you're going to sit there and go, give Robert Downey Jr. whatever he wants. You pay that man. I don't care if it's $1 billion. You pay him. I don't care if it's unreasonable. I don't care if he's making more than spinal surgeons who literally save people's lives. Give him whatever he wants. Don't you dare complain about the cost of a movie ticket then, because you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. It's all systemic. Let's see. Ismelvin Vargas writes, what product would you recommend for a great home theater experience? Honestly, I don't know that much. I mean, I have a good home theater. Look, I think just good speakers. I don't think you need the 12-point surround sound stuff. No, all you need is a good set of speakers. You don't need, so I've never found, I mean, surround sound is cool and everything. My buddy Cliff has got this awesome surround sound system, but ultimately, all you need is good sounding speakers. That to me is even more important than the quality of your television. So just buy a couple of good speakers with a good subwoofer, and I think you'll increase your home theater enjoyment like fivefold, just like that. But I'm no expert. There's a great dude on the Twit Network who appears on the Tech Guy podcast, and I'm forgetting his name right now, but he's the head of like the home theater gurus. And every weekend he does a segment on the Tech Guy podcast about home theater stuff. It's excellent. I would highly recommend you check it out. Jacob Vanco writes, saw Operation Finale. Nick Kroll needs to stick to comedy. You know what? I'll tell you what. I haven't seen Operation Finale yet, but I plan on it because I think it looks great. But when I saw Nick Kroll, who I'm a fan of Nick Kroll, but when I saw him pop up in that trailer, I went, ooh, that feels out of place. Again, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't say. But I gotta say, I'm not surprised to hear you say that, Jacob, because even in the trailer, I thought he felt out of place. But again, maybe I'll change my mind when I see the movie, but it's interesting that you say that. Dirk Walker writes, is it possible T'Challa saved Killmonger after all and put him in a cell somewhere? He did say his wound could be healed. No. He said his wound might be able to be healed, but it was too late. He was going to die. And he died on that hill. He was gone. If they did say, after he died, or after he passed out, T'Challa picked him up, rushed him into a hospital where he was still alive till he got there, and they revived him and put him in a cell, would completely undo the emotional and dramatic impact of that scene. The emotional and dramatic impact of that scene depends on Killmonger dying. And if they were to pull that, it would completely undo the fantastic dramatic effect it had. So no, I don't think there's any chance that they've done that. Edgar Magana writes, doing college work. Based off trailer and current buzz alone, how big or small will Halloween do at the box office? That is the billion-dollar question that everybody's asking. Some people are thinking it's going to make like $80 million opening weekend. I think it's going to make closer to 25. My guess right now is 25, but I'll be honest, I haven't seen any tracking numbers yet. It's still a little far out, I suppose. My guess right now is 25. But being that it's a Blumhouse production, Jason Blum's going to keep the budget on this really tight. If they open with $25 million, I think it's going to be a profitable movie, so I'll be fine. But hey, there are some other people out there smarter than me thinking it's going to make $70 or $80 million opening weekend. I just don't see that happening. But I could see 25. That's my guess right now. But I reserve the right to change that guess as more trailers come out and we get closer and we can actually start to gauge how the audience is reacting to it and gauge the buzz. But right now, I'll go with, say, 25 million. All right. Robert Spinoza writes, Joaquin Phoenix Joker won't meet Batman till 50 plus? Yeah, why not? It's an Elseworld story. Look, he might not meet Batman at all in this universe. That's the thing we understand. This is an Elseworld story. Forget whatever you think you know about the history of Joker and Batman from the comic books. This is a standalone Elseworld story. So he may never meet Batman. He may never meet Batman. Right? So we got to start to adjust our mindset. Remember, forget continuity, forget canon, forget shared cinematic universes. This is a standalone one-shot movie. Forget whatever you think you know. And just go in and take whatever story they're going to give us, because it could be something really special. Steven Gonzalez writes, no one mentions this, but we were really close to seeing Bruce and Thunderbolt Ross reunite in Infinity War. Ross would have been a hologram, but still. Chance of them reuniting in Avengers 4 over under 60%. Well, that assumes a couple of things, Steven. Number one, it assumes that Thunderbolt Ross did not dust. He might have been dusted too. And if he was dusted, well, that really lowers the chance. But even if he wasn't dusted, will he be a part of the movie? See, I got a feeling that maybe he was dusted and Tony Stark's position, Tony Stark may have taken over his role. Tony Stark might be the new Secretary of Defense for all I know. One of the Earth's greatest heroes? Sure. I mean, that could happen. Who disappeared when trying to fight off an alien attack in New York City? Yeah. So I have a feeling that General Ross is not around in Avengers 4. I could be wrong about that, but because of that big thing, I'm going to take the under. It would be interesting to see Ross, because we've never seen, I don't think we've seen Ross and this Banner played by Mark Ruffalo on screen together. I'm trying to remember if we did. I don't think we ever did. But at any rate, I would love to see that reunion. I think that would be great. But at the same time, just because I don't think Ross is even going to be there, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the under on 60%. Arturo Beltran writes, Quantum Realm or Soul Stone will introduce mutants. I've heard that theory a lot. I think there's big problems with the theory. Number one, Quantum Realm does not explain the history where, like, mutants are supposed to have been around for decades, hated parts of our society, blah, blah, blah. Soul World doesn't do anything to explain it either. So, I mean, just because it's something big and wild doesn't mean it could affect anything to do with mutation or the history of it. How do you explain Charles Xavier, Magneto, all that history of the X-Men? all that kind of stuff. Nothing in the quantum realm or the soul world addresses that. So it's not impossible. They certainly could introduce something like that. It is possible. I just don't think it does because I don't see how either of those two things at all address the problem. At least that's where I'm at right now. I could be wrong about that. History Soup writes, constant DCEU chaos, but Marvel makes it look easy. Hey, yeah, but let's not pretend like Marvel doesn't have its own hiccups. Inhumans, anyone? Iron Fist, anyone? Let's not pretend like Marvel never has any problems. Marvel makes it, sure, comparatively makes it look easy, sure, but let's not pretend like they haven't hit road bumps and that they haven't had hiccups. Ant-Man and Edgar Wright, anybody? I mean, nothing's been as disastrous as this Flash thing, sure, but let's not pretend like Marvel hasn't had their hiccups too. Marvel has had their hiccups. Edgar Magana writes, Friday the 13th, 2009, underrated in my opinion. I had a friend of mine who was in that movie too. I don't know, man. Look, I have a friend who was in it, and it starred one of the dudes from Supernatural, which is one of my favorite shows. I was totally predisposed to liking that film. I had a bias for that film. And even I didn't think it was all that good, to be honest. Despite having Sammy Winchester in it, and despite having a friend of mine as one of the actors in it, even then, I couldn't say it was very good. But hey, man, that's why all film's subjective. If you liked it, that's awesome. But yeah, I disagree. For me, it wasn't very good, but I'm glad you thought it was. Ali Hussein writes, let's see here. Have you seen Ballers with Dwayne Johnson and with John David Washington? It's really great TV show. Dwayne Johnson is the main character in the show. No, but that is on my list of shows I got to binge because I'm a big fan of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and it's ridiculous to me that he's got a show on HBO. It's lasted multiple seasons, and I've never watched a single episode. Never a single one. So I got to get on that. So I have not seen it yet, but I'm going to watch it for sure. Jace Little writes, how did clothes get dusted but not Captain Marvel's pager? Ah, very good question. Remember, though, when Bucky was dusting, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he had a gun in his hand, and the gun just dropped to the ground. So, but maybe you say, oh, but that's because he dropped it. Well, he did drop the pager, right? He wasn't wearing the pager. It just kind of was a separate thing. So I guess that's one way you could explain it. But it is consistent because the thing that, once again, that Bucky was holding, he dropped it. And so Samuel Jackson did too. Maybe if it was still in his pocket when he dusted, pardon me, maybe it would have dusted with him. But to me, I think it makes sense. Ali Hussein writes, seriously, they should reboot the entire DCEU after Aquaman and Shazam and Wonder Woman 2. If directors keep leaving DC movies, I have lost all hope for a Flash movie. I know WB is not going to do that. Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're going to reboot at this point. Look, I've been saying for a while, I think they should reboot. Because I think that gives them the best chance for success. I mean, people think I want them to reboot because I hate Warner Bros. No, no, no. I want them to succeed, and I think the best chance for success is to reboot. Clearly, it would have to be after Wonder Woman 1984. But I don't think they're planning on doing that. I think they're just going to pump their brakes, take their time, see where they're at. And remember, it takes like 2 or 3 years. When a new head of a studio comes in, it's going to take 2 or 3 years for us to see the effects of that guy of the new leader being in place. We're not going to, like if we worked in the studio, we would see the effects. But as audience members, we're not going to really see the effects of Hamada's new leadership for 2 or 3 years until we start to see the effects of it. So let's be patient and see what kind of transpires. This just in writes, love using my A-list to finally be able to see the first 2 Avengers movies in IMAX for the first time. That's a great thing. For those of you who don't know, there is a Marvel Film Festival going on, which is fantastic. There's a Marvel Film Festival going on in IMAX with all the MCU movies that have played. So if there are some MCU movies you never had a chance to see on the big screen or the big screen like IMAX, that's something to go look into. And if you got an A-list, use your A-list card because you can use your A-list card to see those movies. Dick Bavida writes, how likely is it that Nebula will be restored to her original body by the end of Avengers 4? I think it would be a great resolution for her character. I think 0. I think there's a 0% chance. There's nothing in the movie that suggests that her body can miraculously be repaired. Like maybe if there was still a fully functional Infinity Gauntlet, and maybe, like I believe in the comics, Nebula gets her hands on the Infinity Gauntlet. But remember, at the end of the movie, the Russo brothers say the Infinity Gauntlet is irreparably damaged, and so is so is Thanos. He's permanently damaged as well. So I don't know. I think a part of her character being mostly mechanical is part of who that character is. So I don't think they're going to do it. I don't see any way that they could do that. So it's an interesting idea, Dick, but I don't think they will. Final question of the day comes to us from In Poor Taste Humor, writes, I think the Star Wars castings are Knights of Ren. That's interesting. Like maybe Dominic and Matt Smith. But do you bring in Matt Smith just to be like a lackey? I'll be honest with you, In Poor Taste Humor, it's an interesting theory. I had not considered that before. I don't think that's what they're doing, because really, do you bring in a high-profile actor like that to be Kylo Ren's lackey? I don't know. I don't know if you do that. Maybe. It's an intriguing thought. I hadn't considered it before, but it's something that I'll keep in mind moving forward. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Don't forget, as I mentioned, there is no open mic today at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's because I have a special town hall meeting with all my Patreon supporters. But don't worry, open mic will return tomorrow, as will the John Campea Show tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Make sure you join us then. That'll do it for me for now, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.